Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Andrew Conspiracy. You have myself, Mr. Andrew, and my lovely co-host, Mr. Do.
Rise and smile!
And we're here to conspire with you. And you, everyone, all of us. So, we'll do that through the usual fashion. Is there anything you're feeling today, Mr. Do?
Well, I just would like to announce that I'm at Andrew's place in Colorado Springs. I'm actually out of Hackensack, and that last show was a historic show because it's the last time maybe you'll see me in Hackensack. But that's in a future that's unrealized yet. But yes, I am in Colorado Springs, and we had a beautiful 3-day trip across country, and that's what we're going to talk about. And so I'll just let Andrew get on with the conspiracy, and then we'll do maybe share some poetry, and then we'll talk.
All right. We'll get synchronized here in the basement of the Colorado studio. Thinking a little alternate nostril breathing. So this is a pretty simple technique. I like to place the pointer and middle finger on the third eye, and then you have your ring finger for your left nostril and your thumb for your right nostril. And it's just to do a full round trip on each nostril, switching back and forth. Let's do 5 rounds of that. So 5 in each nostril, in and out. So you'll take an in from the left and out. And switch. All right, round 1, and switch. And switch. Round 3. Round 4. Round 5. All right. And the idea is the nostrils are actually cross-linked at different hemispheres of the brain, so by kind of focusing on one side and the other, you're sort of linking up the hemispheres of your brain and bringing more unity to your consciousness. So it's a great one to get in balance, get alignment, and also, breathwork is always great for calming the nervous system and being able to settle into a more clear headspace. So highly encourage you guys to try that technique on your own, and make it your own, and elevate.
And I'm just looking at myself, and I really am Buddha belly.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that?
I feel I'm 70 years old, and I deserve myself.
Okay, you do. But that also doesn't mean it has to stay there forever. It's really.
Well, actually, it has been going down, and actually since I returned to THC, the herb, I seem to have lost about 20 pounds that I couldn't lose otherwise. So I don't know what that says about anything, but...
Well, we talked about this. One other key change, this isn't causation, but we're at least painting a picture here, is your sleep has improved.
My sleep has improved, and also I've been walking a lot more.
Okay. So there's a few factors in the formula. Do you feel more at ease, generally speaking?
Well, that's the thing. People always ask me how I feel, and I say I always feel the same. I don't know whether it's medication or whatever, but I'm always like at a pretty good balance, and
okay.
But so you might have heard this poem before, but since I'm not in Hackensack, I don't have access to my archives. So this is my second introductory poem, and it goes. my history in a nutshell. Well advanced to becoming Robert Frost, at Dartmouth I my mind lost, and was from Ivy League tossed, put into therapy at considerable cost, to have my brain teeth flossed by the doctor whom he bossed every night after I get sauced, doing my duty at my post in hospital where I was host, and met the beautiful female Jill, for whom over dale over hill I trekked when I was ill, until I found the perfect pill to keep chemical and bound steaming still, which made romantic chances virtually nil. Even while perfecting my poetic skill, I pray will help pay the bills for sodas on which I fill.
Beautiful. Quite a journey there, as per the usual. I like it.
But that's old Dale. That's Hackensack Dale. So whether I go back to Hackensack or not, we've broken the prison chains that I had around THC, Teaneck Hackensack Community, the holiest city. And so I will go back probably eventually, but this is I feel like a prisoner who's been freed after 50 years. So I'm in no rush to rush back to the Hackensack Dale Annex and sort of resume a life that is now irrelevant and basically out of sync with what I want to do.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll take a few steps back. Yes, we are in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're in the basement of my home. We'll call it the basement studio. And it was quite a journey to get here. If you tuned into the last episode, we mentioned that there was a person of interest, Zayla, as Dale refers to her, this woman that he met on the internets, and we were curious to make her real. And so I offered to go meet her. She said no, but she said, "Oh, if Dale comes, then I'll come meet." And so we picked a restaurant and picked a time and a date, and it was the next day at 7 p.m. So we pretty much packed up and head out, and it was just, we were going for it. And,
boom, boom, boom.
And so off to Dayton, Ohio we go, and we get to Dayton, we get to the restaurant. I'm walking Willow, I come in, we order a drink, we sit down, and about 20 minutes go by, and I'm like, so we ready to order food or what? Because I'm like over it. And so we ordered food and had our dinner, and lo and behold, no one showed up to meet us. So this woman was unreal. She's not real, or if she is, she's a coward. Either way, it's time to move on. So, but the point is it kicked off a series of events. This person, the idea of them kicked off a series of events that allowed us to be here and transport there quickly, right? We had some excitement around the potential of meeting this person, and so we were excited to set out this adventure, and we did. And the adventure lived up to expectations. We had lots of synchronistic encounters, including one that I want to mention. We checked into 2 hotels, one in Dayton and one in Kansas City. And the check-in guy at both hotels, different chains, were both from Hyderabad, India, which was where I lived for 2 years. And I would mention Gachibowli, which was like a suburb, effectively, of Hyderabad, and their eyes would pop just a little bit because they knew, like, no one would know Gachibowli unless they had lived in Hyderabad, India. So we feel like we're on a path to go somewhere, and yes, part of it was, leaving the safe space that Dale's created in Hackensack, and to venture out into the rest of the world and reintroduce Dale to the world, and vice versa. That's what it feels like. And so maybe that's being overly dramatic, but given, your time, how long have you lived in your apartment in Hackensack?
44 years.
44 years in the same apartment in the same city, okay? And
the city I came to because I joined the psychiatric program after my hospitalization from Dartmouth when they took me away for my hi I'm God joke. Let's just call it that. My hi I'm God joke, and it really was meant as a joke that was supposed to be over in 3 days, and it's taken 50 years. But I just I've been We'll go into this about Zayla and and whether she's real or not, or even what. But the fact is that what really hit me was, for the first time in basically 50 years, I saw the abundance of America. Because as I've been sitting in my apartment in Hackensack for 44 years, it's sort of like everything converged into everything being Hackensack. And, everybody talks about abundance, but I lost all concept of what abundance was. And this trip, among other things, besides freeing me, breaking the chains of my prison of Hackensack, it's also just showed me, the abundance of this country, but also the abundance within, and the abundance that I can tap into now that I've broken out of my fixation with Hackensack.
yeah, wow. I mean, it's like I said, this is quite the epic journey, and it's continuing to unfold. But I mean, you're already pointing to some pretty massive perception shifts, and I think that's obviously something that makes me very happy, to feel that abundance is here. Right, we traveled across country and saw beautiful fall colors and hay bales stacked up for days, and I mean, you name it, right? And we instantly just manifest whatever we needed in the moment. Oh, we're hungry. Boom. 2 minutes later, we're at a sandwich shop or whatever.
We're at Effingham, Illinois, having lunch.
Yeah, Effingham, Illinois was a good stop. It was for sure a good stop. We got some delicious barbecue in Kansas City, the best barbecue in the world, in my opinion.
What's that, Bob's? Bob's Bar?
Joe's, Kansas City, formerly Oklahoma Joe's. Yeah. Yes. It was my all-time favorite. I'd been to... We did the full barbecue tour when I lived in Kansas City for 20 years, and I couldn't deny it was my favorite. So it was nice to have that little treat and be able to share that experience with you.
Just to give the people like an idea of Joe's, it's sort of like in a gas station. I mean, you know it a lot better than I do, but it's basically in a gas station, and you line up. And there's a line that basically takes at least... Well, we got there on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock, and we were very lucky because we were like the only people in the outside waiting area. but by the time we were like halfway through our wait, it was like out the door and around the buildings. So this is how popular Bob's barbecue is.
Joe's Kansas City.
Joe's.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why I keep saying Bob.
Featured by Anthony Bourdain in 13 Places to Eat Before You Die. So we've done at least one on the list, and we're not dead yet. So hooray.
But yeah. So one thing we should mention is that we were talking about synchronicities,
yeah.
and my sister, who lives in Italy with her husband, was in Kansas City at my nephew's house, who I hadn't seen in like 18 years. And so when we got to Kansas City, I gave my nephew a call, and he said, well, and actually...
Skip to the good part.
Okay, so we had breakfast. We met my sister, my nephew, and her husband, and we had breakfast at a very nice place called Homegrown, which, of course, Andrew especially resonated with. And but the fact is that just like the synchronicity of like my sister being. But what I wanted to say is also the day before, my other nephew, the older brother of the nephew we met, had gotten married 1 month after his fiancée had given birth to their first child. So it was just like such a family, get together and reunion. And even though we didn't see the new father, the fact is that that was like the most intense family gathering I'd had ever since my father died in 2014, and I stopped going to Oklahoma City for Christmas.
Yeah, it's undeniable. We were in a co-creative flow, and it allowed for things to take place in the universe to arrange to allow really cool encounters along the way. And yeah, your sister just happened to be, in town for the wedding when we just happened to be passing through Kansas City.
Absolutely unknown to any of us.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's enough evidence or if we need evidence. The point is, it's been a journey, and it felt aligned, and it felt like the timing was appropriate. Like it was a God mission, basically, for me to come to Hackensack, meet with Dave. I mean, the whole thing, our whole relationship journey, realistically, is like been pretty aligned.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how our trip and all the things we discussed is really is reflected in this show, because I think we're going to be able to go a lot deeper. We delved in like subjects that concern us both, and actually I was going to start out with mentioning that we watched the first Matrix movie last night, and this is really what to do in Drew Conspiracy is aiming at is what's the word?
Dismantling
the Matrix, but also not only dismantling the Matrix, but if you realize that Matrix in the Bible, I know you don't like the Bible, Andrew, but Matrix, the word Matrix means womb. So basically, what we're doing, we aren't like dismantling the old Matrix, but also we're giving birth, not just Andrew and I, obviously, but the world, and the awareness and the consciousness of the world is rising to such a high level of Christ consciousness, if you want to call it that, that we're entering a new matrix of divine love and peace, rather than competition and greed and money and all the things of the world that seem to have been so dominant for so long.
Yeah, we're just rewriting the source code. We're not demolishing the Matrix per se, because the Matrix is what gives us like the 3D experience. That's, effectively. But it has been written, the code has been written, right? The programming that seems to be the predominant brand is one of limitation and lack, and we're looking for and competition as opposed to cooperation, abundance, and freedom. So that's the paradigm shift is to rewrite the code so the system works for the human instead of whatever it's currently doing. And the movie was so fun to watch. It's my favorite movie. I think that's pretty easy to say. Top 5 at least. And yeah, it was fun to watch it with you and share that experience. It is the hero's journey, a beautiful picture of the hero's journey, and one that we draw a lot of parallels to also from our own experience of kind of just feeling like there's something not quite right, and then leaning into the knowing of that, and that's really the arc of the story, right? Neo says, "I'm not the one," until he has to prove himself in a situation, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I for sure am the one."
Right.
And it goes from this like head knowledge of maybe to like an embodied like knowing that it's true. And you're talking about what we're bringing, and we pointed to that Christedness again, right? And the Christedness is really the point of the Christedness is to allow for the structure of society to work in collaboration, in cooperation, because that's the missing ingredient from our perspective now. Is there's not a check on these what we call human human nature, I guess.
Human control systems.
But human nature, we define human nature as all these things that humans do that are sort of horrible to other humans.
Right.
Oh, that's just human nature, right? When maybe it's not, right? It's just the nature of human is actually love and cooperation. We've just been accepted a story that is not in alignment with that. And so it's about adopting a new story, a story that says, oh, humans can evolve as a species to this level where we cooperate with each other. And when we do that, it eliminates the need for all these control structures to begin with, because we're actually just trying to make sure everyone else is doing well. That's actually the goal. Well, instead of fighting against each other and wasting energy on defenses and protection and government and armies and police and all this bullshit that just that takes away from the human experience.
Well, as Robert Anton Wilson said in the Illuminati trilogy, it's national security is the greatest cause of national insecurity, and so basically, what we're really talking about is absolute self-sovereignty. Because if someone is self-sovereign, they have authority over themselves to the degree that they have authority over their world. Because everything is internally created, and I still think back to your offhand comment that everything is a projection of the eyes of the brain, so that everything we see is actually. That's why the Matrix was so fascinating. But, in my own mind, I'm sure that most of you are very familiar with the story of the Matrix. But basically, Neo is like the chosen one, and Morpheus is like the guy who's been tracking the Neo for his whole life, trying to find the chosen one. And so basically, this gets back to my belief or former belief or idea.
It's a current belief.
My inspiration that I'm God.
I think the only thing that's shifted is some humility.
Well, I think the only thing that's really shifted is I'm being Dale instead of saying I'm God.
Yeah, you're Dale incarnating the frequency of God.
Right.
Bringing God's love into this experience.
And you when we were driving, you said, "I'm feeling it. I am the true Christ." And and that's really like the sort of liberation that everybody can have, because everybody. I'm Lord True God, and you're True Christ. So between the two of us, we got all our bases covered.
Oh, we got the Holy Trinity with Miss Willow. She's...
Right. The God spelled backwards is the Holy Spirit. So, but anyway, so, you are the true Christ, and I am the Lord True God. And people say, well, by what authority are you saying that? And I say, by my own experience. I put in 50 years in self-work to be able to come to be the example of what I thought God should be. And that's all I am. I'm just an example of what I think God would be. And that's the same as you. You think you're manifesting and behaving in a manner where you think Christ would behave if and it's not Yeshua or anything, because we are all Christ, and that's the whole point. And but the thing I wanted to say about the Matrix is, the whole thing about Morpheus and Neo is basically I felt for 70 years I was Neo, and now I'm seeing that actually I'm Morpheus, who's been searching his whole life for Neo. And this reinforces my belief that when Andrew said he was coming to Hackensack, it was really like the cavalry arriving. And that's how it's turned out. The cavalry arrived, the fort has been liberated, and the prisoners of the enemy have been freed, and that's me. And I just thank you, Andrew, but also Oh no, it's just like humbling. I mean, my whole thing about I'm God was it's a joke, and it just got taken way too far, and ultimately it led to my meeting you, Drew Christ. I had a previous Do Christ, not Drew Christ, a Do Christ, and he got crushed by the Matrix. So, that's I just the exploration of the country and just like the.
All right, we got 18 thoughts here. We got to stop for a second.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're very excited, and I think that's awesome. But let me go back to the very beginning, right? We were talking about by whose authority, right? And you said it was your authority from your experience. And I think that's something I want to highlight because we have talked about that quite a bit. This idea of authority. So who are you drawing your authority from? Or where is the authority coming from? And from my experience, the authority was coming from an external place, right? It was, I have permission because the government says it's okay, or because the Bible says, the parents say it's okay, the Bible says it's okay, my book of law says it's okay. And people do that all the time. According to ... the medical study, according to the Bible, according to the news article, according to my friend. It's like, so in every instance there, you're saying some external source is your source of authority, your source of information, or authority for the information you're transmitting, right? So it's not actually you. And that's what we're talking about, is getting to the point where you become the authority for your own experience. It's not something else, because no one or nothing can know your experience the way you can. And so when that shift starts to happen, I mean, I think that's what I was pointing to, is the shift that's happening is I'm realizing that this is my own creation. I am the maker of it, the doer of it, through animated by God, to have this experience here. And the authority is from God, but it's also from my own experience.
It's the God within.
Well, the experience has to be worth something, otherwise why are we here, right? I mean, that's my point. And so it doesn't mean every experience we have has sort of two sides to look at it, right? I mean, it's not just one facet, but that's the point, is you can look at your experience to draw like learning from in order to advance your character and in order to advance, your evolution. And I think that's sort of what we're trying to like share with you all, is the tools to be able to do that for yourself, so that you feel as empowered, as sovereign as we do in our existence, or more so.
That's the exact point. And so I think the reason I got in such trouble for my joke was basically everybody thought that I was going to try to control everything, and ultimately I was in control of everything, but the powers that control didn't want me to feel that control, and so they took me away. And that's been my hero's journey for the last 50 years, and that's the past phase now. The point is that the authority for anything comes from within. So if even if in the Matrix, the agents, everybody thinks they're.
Hey, one more thing.
Okay.
You talked about sort of the unfolding of it and how everything in your story has led you to this moment where we were able to meet and have this experience. And I think that's important to note too, because there is this idea of like we've made mistakes or things, we stepped off the path or something like that. And I want to erase that from our thought process. Every step along your journey is perfect. Everyone. All of the ones. and because it got you to where you are now.
Right.
And there was no other way to get here. It happened the way it needed to happen, and you are allowed to make the meaning from that journey that you choose, right? And so it can be a journey of overcoming, or it can be a journey of being a victim of something. And when you choose the overarch of being empowered and overcoming, you change the energy of all of it, and what you call it, retroactively create.
Retroactive creation.
And also kind of Betamaxing, you would tie into that too, right? And so you effectively rewrite the energy of your past experience in order to allow it to serve you in the now moment, as opposed to allowing it to keep you small, victim status in the now moment. And that's what healing is. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Not, I always say this. I think it all begins with self-awareness. And what you said about is the story you're telling from the wound or the scar. I think that's very relevant because, if you are telling it from the wound, then you're going to basically be a victim. And this is something we were discussing on the trip is, humor as a way to neutralize victimhood.
Yeah. Like, if you want to have that victimhood expression, and I think we do just to help relate, like, with other people, do it from a perspective of comedy. Because I think, I think that's a beautiful way to use comedy, and it seems to be becoming more and more common. People just express their darkest moments, but they put a punchline at the end, and then we're allowed to laugh at it and release the energy of it, sort of acknowledge it, but with a different energy. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Anyway.
But just to give a concrete example that I used on the trip, so 2 weeks before I got taken away from Dartmouth, I had lined up a job to be a Frisbee pro in a van in Central America, putting on Frisbee demonstrations for the paisanos to introduce Frisbee to Central America. And then I figured out I was God and I got taken away. So that's how I lost the best job I ever had. So I could have been a professional athlete, not only a professional athlete, but a Frisbee professional athlete before Frisbee was even known. So it was, but that's what we're talking about, humor. I could sit back and, even when I was in the hospital after Dartmouth, I said, just let me go be a Frisbee pro. And they'd say, there is no geographical separation from your problems, Dale. So you gotta stay. And so, that job became a fantasy like many other things. But the whole basis of my psychosis was humor. I was laughing all the way, and I just figured out basically, while Andrew was here, he said, God, whether you think I'm the devil or the Antichrist or whatever, it's irrelevant because God's thrown everything He can at me, and I just kept laughing. And so that's that's how
You're God.
I am God, but no, I'm Dale. No, I'm the 9. I'm the 5 and 1.
Then God didn't throw everything at you. You chose to have an experience in order to be able to bring something unique to the world. That's the belief structure that I carry.
Right.
Because that's the creator. And it might feel weird that you would create that. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel about your own creation. But the point is to own it. And then once you own it, then you can do something with it. When you're the victim of it, you're just it's driving you. You're not driving it. And that's what I feel more and more from you now is this ability to own things and then incorporate them into who we are, and then sort of release some of the energy of it.
Well, I don't want to go on too much about this, but the whole goal of therapy truly seems to be to make victims, more victimed, because that's where the money is. why? I mean, this is a whole medical paradigm. Why cure anybody when we have like money and when we have a constant stream of income from illness? And it's even more emphasized than psychiatry because it's such a weird thing to think that you can like understand the mind from an outside point of view, and that you can understand another person's mind by reading books.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We don't need to harp on that too much, but I mean the point is the system as you've experienced it was distorted for sure. You felt like the doctors were mental patients too, and I think there's something to that. Just to be drawn to that profession, there's something there, right? And so there's a different way to do it. What the goal of therapy is, and I don't know. We're still kind of working through it because I think there's something like a structure that's starting to form that might be kind of interesting. But we're just kind of fucking around and finding out. But I'm bringing what I've learned through years of whatever I've learned, and you're coming in with your experience and an openness to experience something different. And the proof is you're here.
Well, that's the whole thing I really like to talk about is how in the last especially 6 months, and even with Selah not showing up and everything, how everything that I feel was meant for me is finally coming into my life. And we read the book, Velvet Velour's Follies, Book 2, Why the Flight of Dialina, a little bit on the right way. But I was thinking about it, and I know you might disagree with this, Andrew.
Don't preface, just go.
Okay. And that book, the book that I just mentioned, Velvet Velour's Follies, Book 2, I Fly to Dialina, is the blueprint for my future immortality. And it's and so I was thinking about Selah is the prime character in that book, and it took me 68 years to find her, and as I say, everything turns up in its own time, but just like many other people, like you showed up when I needed it and when I was ready, and I can't turn my back on that and just say, sort of like superficially, well, this isn't real, because everything is real.
Yeah, we've been doing that dance for sure. Everything is real. That's true. And people want to define their experiences more real because it fits a certain definition that they've conjured up. But I agree. Any experience can be as real as you want it to be, or as fake as you want it to be. I guess where I'm at is I'm to a point in my life where I want a connection with people that can touch me. And so a relationship with that doesn't involve that and has no hope of involving that and never has indicated that they're interested in involving that part of their of humaning into the relationship just feels hollow and meaningless to me at this point. And so if a human that I'm interacting with in a digital format is not open to expanding their ability to open up and express from a human perspective, a video chat, for example,
right,
or they're using their voice, for example, or an offering to meet in real life, for example. If those aren't on the table, then I'm done.
Right. Well, that's maybe the difference between your groundedness and my delusion, or it could also be the thing that makes us most complementary.
Yeah. Also, friendship is free.
Right. That's true.
So anyway, we got this beautiful artwork behind us. I wanted to highlight that. I bring new guests down here because all these paintings or prints have like a fun title, like a cheeky title. And Dale came down here. He got 4 out of 5 of them right without much prompting. I think that's a record for sure. So your creative mind is still very much intact, and I appreciate that. And I also want to highlight how well Willow is getting along with you. I think that's really sweet to see her, comfortable in your presence and seeking out your attention, because she doesn't always do that with newer people. And so lots of beautiful energy.
And she was mad I took her shotgun seat for 3 days, but she was very patient with me.
Indeed she was. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, is there anything else from the trip that really stands out, or our time in Hackensack that you want?
We talked about this a little bit, and I'm not running from Hackensack. I love Hackensack. THC has been my home, and you say this is a little, well, you say don't preface, but some people think this is a little absurd that I want to keep Hackensack always as a safe home.
No, it is absurd.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Dale. This is about expansion. Leave space for a version of you who wants something, who is open to receiving something much greater than what already exists in your life.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you can't honor the safe space that it was without also creating possibility where it doesn't have to be attached to you till you die.
Right.
Because it doesn't. This house doesn't have to be attached to me till I die. It's a beautiful place. It's keeping us safe and warm and comfortable, right? And I'm grateful for it. We got to watch a movie and hear the floor rattle, like the vibration. Like this is a beautiful space that I have manifested, and so to honor that is valuable. But to say that I will always be attached to this just feels silly, because I thought you could have said the same thing about anything in life that you've let go of. Oh, right. I will always be attached to X, Y, Z. Well, yeah, you might, but also you might not. And so I just don't understand why you keep projecting the attachment to this shitty apartment in Hackensack it's forever.
It's also a process of a stressing and decompressing after 50 years. So, I mean, basically Hackensack is all I've known for 50 years. So, obviously, I have very strong attachment there. And basically, Hackensack gave me a home when nobody else would, even though I had to pay the doctor to live under his roof. And that's the bottom line. It's just like such a big part of myself. I don't have enough experience outside of it yet to be able to think in terms of replacing it.
That's valid. Absolutely. And I'm not even talking about replacing it. I'm just talking about not talking about keeping it forever all the time.
Right.
That's all I'm talking about. That's the difference. And so I think we're on the same page there. I think we've gone through that. But I mean, I think we can all relate to things that, at one point in our existence we felt were like critical to our existence, or that I would die without my dog or my girlfriend or my wife or whatever thing that you were attached to, and then it became unattached, or and it maybe was there was a mourning process. We all have our way of moving through things, but the point is you aren't still attached to it,
right.
And so that's happened before. It could happen again. It may or may not, right? But it might, and that's how I like to keep like a neutrality around life that allows me to kind of flow through it instead of creating all this structure and always and
right.
defining, and now this is what it is, and I have limited possibilities, and it's gonna go this way, and it will, but like the possibilities, I mean, some of them have been pretty cool.
Right. Well, this is harmony is impossible with attachment. That's what I wanted to say. Harmony and balance is impossible with attachment, and therefore you have to be. There is a certain degree of detachment, but also you also have to be detached from the world, but attached to yourself, to your inner Christ, to your inner God, and that's the whole point of of attachment, is to be able to create a continuity whereby reality flows, like you say, like this, like a river, rather than like a right-angled building in New York City.
Yeah. Well, I like this phrase. This has helped me. Is everything birthed in time? This concept that we created ends in time. So if there's an inevitability to that thing that was birthed shifting out of time. It doesn't mean its essence ceases to exist, or that it doesn't take form in some other way that we can't perceive in this limited reality, but it means it stops existing in 3D space. That's right. My opinion. And I could Willow, right? I'm pretty attached to Willow. I love Willow. And I like to bring her places with me, right? And when she ends in time, I will be I will be sad. And I acknowledge I have created that attachment, with the acknowledgement that it will create pain at some point, probably, right? Anyway, that's the most likely scenario at the current time,
right?
But there's a willingness to have that experience, because I know there's so much beauty in the now. There will also be beauty in that too, even if it's hard, and that's the decision we make every day when we seek connection outside of ourselves. But that's also part of the experience, is to have something a connection outside of ourselves, right? Friends and pets and plants and houses and whatever it is that we bring in order to enjoy this experience and bring ourselves joy. And so I think having that acknowledgement just creates maybe that tiny little bit of separation from fully putting all your identity into one attachment or several attachments or something like that. I don't know. That's my theory. I think we'll see how it plays out in reality.
Well, as I say, as your experience grows and your attachment, exactly what you said, your attachments change, but also you get to know what you desire a lot more. And I decided last night that I desire my book to come true more than I care about what other people are going to think about it, because I pursue what I'm pursuing.
Amazing. Yeah. That is the thing about creation, right? There's this projection of external judgment onto the creation before it's been released into the wild, right? I don't know if all our creators have ever felt that feeling, but yeah, I don't know, even something as posting a reel back in the day used to give me this sense of anxiety, I'm going to be judged, or people are going to feel a certain way about it. And releasing that over the last year or two has been so liberating. I mean, yeah, I think there's more to go. I know there's more to go, but just the distance that I've traveled so far down that path has felt pretty fucking incredible, and so that's the point. I don't know, is to feel that excitement of your own liberation. Where can you let go of shit you don't need anymore? Where can you learn to create some separation from certain identity structures or thought forms or actual forms? And the desire is such a key part of that, right? Is really tapping into the heart's desire, because that's the navigation tool. That's how you get to the cool shit. Is following your heart. This thing, it serves a purpose, but it's a servant of the heart. That's how I feel about it. and so they need to work together. But this is the driver of the bus. If we want to go down to fun,
Right.
if we want to be in the fun party, we gotta tap into this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just more and more. Oh, I know what I'm going to say, but we aren't preaching. We aren't telling you how to live your life. We're just like giving our observations about our own lives and everything. But the fact is that the collective, we are part of a collective that is raising its consciousness extremely quickly and extremely fast. And the more people that we can reach, the more we can tie into that collective awareness that we're of Christ's consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, together. And so therefore, take it as you will, Whether you think I'm God, I know I'm Dale. I know I'm Roger Joseph Dale Edward Allen Tompkins Walsh, a unique individual, a totally unique individual. And, whether that's God or Krishna or Allah or even if you just want to call it, the White Rabbit and Alice in Wonderland. I mean, a lot of people have said that too. You're just lost in fantasy, Dale. But the fact is that over time, that fantasy has proved to be reality. And people say, what is reality, Dale? Tell us that. Okay, reality is the creativity left in the wake of your dreams. Reality is the creativity left in the wake of your dreams. And absolute reality is the ultimate narcissistic fantasy. So for every Dale out there, every person who can empathize with Dale, who thought he was God, who joked he was God and then had to prove it for 50 years, every person is a Dale, and ultimately that's what humanness is.
Everyone's a Dale, okay? I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not. There's this episode of Rick and Morty where everyone's Morty.
Right.
And it's a lot like that, right? And it does give us a little taste. See, these are all things that are pointing to the truth. I think that's what we're trying to get at. We're pointing to truth. What we're saying isn't the truth, but it's pointing towards it. And so you can, that's how I feel about it. And so we're here to help try point towards truth in the way we can with these, primitive vocal cords and guttural noises and shit, our body language, our energy, however we can, send out that transmission. But what you said there was so cool about this movement of how you experienced reality, that ultimate narcissistic fantasy of what did you call it? Absolute reality. Right. And I've heard this term, and it's like there is an absolute truth. There's absolute reality, which basically means I want you to have the same experience I'm having.
Correct.
Right?
I want you to be happy. I want to infect everybody.
Everyone needs to see
with incurable psychotic bliss.
Everyone needs to see reality the way I see it, and then everyone will be happy. That's the ultimate that's the ultimate narcissist, isn't it? So then if that's not the desired state, then there has to be acknowledgement that we are all having a unique experience individually. No experience is alike. Zero. None. So your experience is different from the next person. Does that seem pretty fucking foundational here?
Yes.
Fuck. And so if everyone's experience is different, then you can't actually know someone else's experience. It's not possible. Okay? And therefore you can't judge anyone else's experience. That's also not possible.
Right.
And what that leads to in me is a deep compassion for people that I perceive as having a struggle in life. because I don't understand where they came from to get to that point, or what they're moving through in order to get to something different, or how I might be able to assist. But that's the point, is I might be able to assist. I might be able to provide comfort, but I'm not there to tell them what their experience should be. They're there to determine that themselves. And I might be offering a reflection, that might shift their perception, but that's not the goal. That's a consequence of their own work. And so that's the model I have for how I view other people in reality. And I think when you put that framework around it, it eliminates the bullshit. And that's why we get along. And your family, bless their hearts, was definitely like, why the fuck are you hanging out with this guy? They didn't say that. But there was enough, little bits along the journey. I mean, we rehashed the whole freaking conversation from the restaurant, right? But they were also very much, they were loving from their own perspective. They do care about you on some level. I mean, that's undeniable. They did show up, and they bought us breakfast, right? And so, but it was cool to be able to have that experience, be able to meet them and get that little flavor of these people who, were in your life, or are to some extent, I guess.
Well, yeah, they are.
And just to pick up on some of the frequencies, and then be able to be able to like go back and forth. It's been an awesome experience. Having good friends I would recommend it. I would recommend having friends that you can talk really deeply and honestly to. That's better. That's better than, therapy has replaced really good friendship. That's where I'm at. Or friends that are equipped to be able to have, really meet you at a high level of awareness.
Right.
But a friend that can meet you at a high level of awareness, to me, is better than a therapist. That's my opinion.
Well, that's just, that's the thing about schizophrenia or psychosis or mental illness or anything, is that, whatever you want to call it, psychic affect, is that ultimately all your friends judge you to the point where you're left alone. And that, and it's a very sad situation, but that's why there's so many homeless and like hopelessly lost people with mental illness on the street, is because no one will talk to them.
It's the judgment of the system, isn't that kind of what you're...
It's a judgment of the Matrix. It is like the Matrix has no use for them, and therefore they are expendable.
Wow, that's fascinating. Has no use for them. Yeah, that sounds pretty close to true. Yeah. So what does the new paradigm? What use do people who have psychic a different connection to reality than a less grounded? I don't know can we define it in a new way?
I don't. Actually, I do have the missing link someplace. I did bring it, but Sid Banks and this whole idea of mind, thought, and consciousness. Those are the three principles. But basically, what he really said, what's at the foundation, is that psychiatry has gone wrong for 200 years because it stopped studying the relationship between the mind and the soul. And that's really where, and it just has degenerated into analyzing behavior.
Yeah, that seems true. It's the spiritual component, the soul, that does feel true.
Well, every person with mental illness is fighting a spiritual battle. And that's what people, and if you don't have any idea of the spirit, then you think it's crazy.
Well, that is the essence of it, isn't it? We're all, the spiritual battle is universal. Everyone who hasn't tapped into that deep awareness has to overcome something to get there. Doesn't that feel true? And so there, the mental patient's battle is just a different battle than what the battle you had to face. And can we acknowledge that and then develop different approaches to meeting those people where they can receive help or whatever it looks like, they get you over that little hump, because there's that little hump sometimes that it takes a little push.
Well, what you said about friendship is so important in mental health recovery, because as I said, friends would come and go, and I lost a lot of friends. I mean, literally to death and everything. But all in all, I always had like someone who I could talk to, and whether it's a therapist or a doctor, but for 50 years, I've only had like one or two real good friends, and all the friends I had in high school, and I mean Dartmouth, forget it. I'm in touch with no one from Dartmouth, but even my high school friends, my best friend, my roommate, he and I are just like sort of like we're in different universes. He's a grandfather of four.
See, but that's just that's normal. That's super normal.
Exactly, and
the point I think you're saying is it requires everyone can benefit from a human who has a deep appreciation for presence. That's the medicine.
Right.
The ability to be present and receive presence is underappreciated. No, I won't even say that. I will say that I feel like as my ability to be present has grown, so has my ability to bring a healing frequency to the spaces around me.
And also to have power over co-creation and reality.
Of course, because that's the awareness we're talking about. When you're deeply present, you're deeply aware also of your reality, as opposed to being a zombie. And I think we found out how exhausting presence can be. It's like we were so locked in for so long, we needed little breaks to like take a deep breath and like relax, because it can be sort of intense. But the point is, I think we're building those muscles a little bit, right? And it's been really fun to do that, and to have another human who doesn't have these bullshit responsibilities, like has the time and space to actually do it, is like such a valuable gift that you've been able to give me in return, and presence is the juice. It is. It's the best drug there is. That's my opinion.
Right.
Find a better one. Tell me about it. But when you can connect deeply with another soul and feel completely safe in that expression, you're going to feel better about everything in life. Things are just going to start to fall into place in ways that you didn't even comprehend was possible. I think it's such a foundational thing. And so you can address like the surface symptom bullshit, but ultimately it's about the soul's desire for deep connection.
Deep connection through listening and talking.
Yeah.
And
maybe more energy. It's presence.
Well, that's the thing.
Presence.
You're right. It is. Everything is an exchange of energy. So, but when you're in a position where you're supposedly in a subservient position to someone else, then you're not going to be able to be yourself completely.
Sure.
And that's really what therapy is.
Well, and your friend's going to call you out if they're honest too, right? I'm not afraid to interrupt your ass and be like, "Bro, redirect," or whatever, right? Like, and so there's like a more like gritty back and forth. It's more raw. It's more real. That's been my experience anyway.
Right.
So I don't know. It feels like we kind of nailed. How do you feel?
I think we did, and I think a good way to close it is to. So when we first got to Colorado, Andrew went out to Costco to do some shopping, and I'm just like, he has my bag in his car. He puts me in this house with Willow, and then he disappears for an hour, and my neuroses about abandonment like start showing up, and so I'm saying, well, what if he really is the Christ, and he's basically just like giving me his house, and and figure it out, Dale. So, but then he showed up and everything again. But the idea is that the point is that we'll close with, I think, is that I was looking at this fan he had, with 5 blades, and I just go, no Fred, no fret, no threat, no stress, and get some rest. And I just went around the fan like probably 20 times, just like repeating that. I think that's a good mantra for a lot of people to adopt, because we are in the year 0 AF, and so let's celebrate, but no Fred, no fret, no threat, no stress, and get some rest.
That's a pretty mantra. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I did. I that was a bit abrupt. That's my bad. But also
you had to get this sore.
No, the point is also you were able to manage. You were able to feel a sensation in your body that you knew has potential to maybe spiral in a direction that wouldn't have been so great, and you were able to meet that energy with a tool in your tool chest to get to a better state. And you did it, and it worked.
Right, and you came home and everything, and it was all negative, worst case scenario fantasy anyway.
Well, of course it was, but that's the point, is you did it. You fucking crushed it, and so good for you for having the awareness to manage your own being. That's sovereignty. That's power right there. And we're testing the boundaries of it just a little bit. That was a very outside the boundaries scenario to be in a strange place, left alone, right off the boat, right? I mean, that could be a lot for anyone, but certainly someone who's been in their apartment for 44 years, that brings it up a whole other notch, right? And I can appreciate that fully. But I'm proud of how you handled it, and that it was now a joke that we can tell about that moment.
And it led to a great mantra.
Right. So anyway, we're sending some love to you too. Embrace the mantra, embrace the sovereignty, embrace the power you have to co-create something beautiful in this world.
And just remember, Jesus equals God squared equals Dale cubed equals Dew squared equals Dewey.
Can't deny that formula. Indeed. All right, y'all. We love you.
Take care. Bye.